Hi guys, my name's Heather. I'm the owner of Leavenly.com, which is a site dedicated to helping busy moms become sourdough mamas. Today we're going to learn how to score sourdough bread, what tools you need, techniques you can use, and troubleshooting any kind of problems that might arise along the way. If you need anything else sourdough related, be sure to check the description because there will be several links in there with lots of resources on Leavenly.com. So let's get started. So here's the loaf that we're going to be scoring today. You can see that it has a nice tall ear, which we're going to be discussing, as well as secondary scores on the top of the loaf. So let's get started and I'll show you how to do this score. So why do we score sourdough bread? The first and most important reason is so that we can control where the bread expands as it's baking in the oven. If you don't score it, then it's just going to burst anywhere along the edges, maybe somewhere along toward the bottom, on the top. It will burst because those gases and steam, as they heat up, they need to escape the dough. And so scoring the bread allows those gases to come out through your score. And it also makes for really intricate patterns, and it lets you control the shape of your bread. So I kind of differentiate between primary scores and secondary scores. A primary score is the deep slash that you see across a loaf of bread, and that's going to be your functional score. So that's what allows the steam to escape. That's going to create your ear. The ear is when the crust kind of lifts up into a crest. You may have seen pictures of that. It might get a little bit burnt right on the ear, and that's good, that's perfect. So that's what the ear is, and that's what a primary score is. Secondary scores are more aesthetic. They're much more shallow, there's many more of them, and it's just for decorative purposes. So you can do them or not. It's completely up to you, it's baker's choice. I like to do a mix of both. And the other option that you have too is you can either flour the top of your dough or not. So if you flour it, you're gonna dust some flour on top, then score, and then as it bakes and the scores expand, they are highly contrasted against that white flour. So it makes your pattern stand out so much more. But some people like the brown, golden, crispy crust that comes with not flouring the top. And that's okay too. It's baker's choice. It's whatever you prefer. But I do recommend, if you're going for a very intricate pattern, to definitely flour it, because you're going to want to show that off once it's baked. So some tools that we use for scoring sourdough. This is called a bread lom, and basically it's a long handle and it has a razor blade on the end, and it's the razor blade that actually does the scoring. There's lots of different tools that you can use that hold onto the razor blade, and if you don't have one, you can just use really anything. You can grab your razor blade just like this, and this is a popsicle stick that's just in half. And then just give that a bend, slide it up, and boom, you have a homemade lom that you can use. I don't recommend holding the razor blade with your bare fingers. Some people do. It's just really risky because they're very sharp. And these are double-sided razor blades, so they're sharp on two sides. So there's that option as well. And then my favorite is the UFO lom by Wire Monkey Shop. It's a little circular piece of wood, and they twist apart. And then the blade is kept inside the actual lom, and then you screw them back together, and then the blade is out. So what I love about that is I can put the blade away when it goes in the drawer. So if I have any kids rifling through that drawer, they're not going to accidentally cut themselves on a razor-sharp razor blade. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that my hand is much closer to the razor blade than with this one. You see the difference? So you have so much more control and precision with this than you would with this. But this one is great for doing just a deep primary score. If you're just looking for that single slash or an ear, this is going to be fine. But this is definitely my preferred lom, and this is the one that we'll be using today. One common question I get from a lot of people trying to score their sourdough for the first or second time is that they don't have a razor blade, they don't have a lom, what can they do? And I always say just use a sharp kitchen knife or a pair of scissors. I've tried an X-Acto knife. It doesn't work great, but if that's all you have, then go for it. And as long as you get that nice deep score along the length of your dough, then that's all you need. You can look up on Google beautiful artwork made with scissors, snipping the dough on top. I've never done it because I have the UFO lom, But I definitely recommend that if you don't have a lame and you're looking at using either scissors or a knife. There's definitely lots of resources online for you. So this is the loaf we're going to be scoring today. This is a batard I have in a banneton, and it's been in the fridge for 24 hours now. So I just remove the little shower cap off the top, and the first thing I'm going to do is check if it's ready. So we do that using the finger poke test. So you give it a nice poke, and it should slightly spring back, not entirely, and it should not stay sunken either. If it stays sunken, it's over fermented. If it springs back right away, it's under fermented. So that looks absolutely perfect. So this is ready to go. I'm gonna put a piece of parchment paper on top after I dust it with flour and flip it out of the basket and then show you how I score. Okay, so let's score this loaf. And this is a great angle to see my almost 8-month pregnant belly in this giant apron. So this is what your loaf will look like in the banneton. We're gonna just gently dust with a little bit of flour. This is just all-purpose flour. Some people don't do this, but I like to, just to make sure that it does lift off the parchment paper. Then I'm gonna put this parchment right on top. I reuse my parchment paper a few times, as you can tell. And then simply flip it over. Gently peel that linen liner off. And you're gonna have some excess rice flour. So what I usually do is just hold it in my hand and rub that off into the banneton. Just like this. Getting all that excess off. Doesn't really matter if you have a little bit left on there, because that'll help contribute to the floured surface. But it's more that you want to get the big chunks off. So here is our beautiful batard, and it's ready for scoring. I'm going to lightly dust some all-purpose flour on top. This way, and then I go again this way. And it's optional if you want to rub it in or just leave it as this way, as sprinkled on. I like to kind of rub it all around, because that way I like to make sure it gets all the way down to the bottom edges too. Just like that. Okay, and now we're going to take our lame, and I'm going to start from my North Pole, which is here, angle it down at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to do a crescent moon swipe like this all the way down to the South Pole. And that is called the single score, the deep slash, and that's what makes the ear. So that we'll do that right now. So nice, swift, and confident. Inside, give it a pull, and down. And that's it. Then the rest is purely decorative. So for this one, I might do some long wheat stalks on this actually. So to do a wheat stalk, we'll do the top piece of the wheat, and then we go down, down, down at an angle, almost like making chevrons, all the way down the bread. And then the opposite angle on this side. And these are just shallow little secondary scores. It's going to be purely decorative. And then we'll do one more right on the inside. So there's the top, and then angle this down, kind of following the curve of the first one. And on the inside. Now you don't want your chevrons to touch if you can help it. And you're also not going to do the stem down the middle, because that'll function as a primary score, just like this guy, and it'll open up and burst, and you won't have a pretty wheat stalk on your bread. So that's it. It's super simple. We're going to throw this in the oven right now, and then we'll show you the final result when it comes out. Okay, so our bread is done baking. Let's pull it out of the oven and take a look at what it looks like. So that is a beautiful ear on that loaf. Set this down and close the oven. This right over on the cooling rack, and let's talk about it. So you can see the nice big ear that we got here. This is actually where I scored it down below, and it rose all that way in the oven. So this is a beautiful example of oven spring, and it looks perfect. So this score helped all those gases escape. Now the secondary scores are the wheat stalks. Those again are purely decorative and they just make the loaf look pretty. You can do it without. It's baker's choice. I really like the wheat stalk appearance. For more troubleshooting and technique ideas, I have a whole post on my website. The link is below and you can go check that out. And also subscribe to this channel for more sourdough videos. So good luck scoring. I'll see you next time.